Hey YouTube, welcome to Cali. So I have so much that I want to just talk about that I haven't talked about yet. Some things still in Medellin. Some people say Medellin, some people say Medellin. It just depends on the type of Spanish. I'm going to say Medellin. In Medellin, it's still a lot of good things that I want to talk about as far as Medellin, but now Cali. So when I came to Cali, I went to my Airbnb in San Antonio, and my first thought was like, this looked like New York, like a hood part of New York. And I'm like nervous, the taxi driver pulls over to the Airbnb that I was staying at, and it was scary, y'all. It was like graffiti everywhere, even though Colombia has a lot of graffiti, period. Even if you're in the suburbs, you'll see graffiti. But I mean, it was like different. Like it was dirty on the ground, on the sidewalks. It was like you definitely saw brown people. As soon as you get off the airplane, it's like your taxi drivers are brown, everybody's brown. And I was feeling it like, this is what I'm talking about, because it's mixed. It's like my color, and darker. So I'm like, this is what I'm talking about, because you feel more comfortable. People are not going to be as racist in places where black people are everywhere. So I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. So when I'm driving through, I'm like, okay, this is obviously the hood. You see like people sleeping on the ground at night. And then the taxi driver pulls over. I'm like, I know this is not where I'm about to stay. But I had to play it cool. I went in. When I went into the Airbnb, it was beautiful inside. It was like waterfalls, and it had like all the different rooms. So I guess it's like a hostel house. It was like, it was really clean and really nice. So I'm like, okay, cool. Outside was a little scary, maybe in the morning time, because I got there and it was getting dark. So I'm like, maybe in the morning time when I go out, I was hungry. I'm like, I'm not walking to the store. We're going to have to order something. And I had to get the guy to order it for me because I don't speak Spanish. In which he did. And he was about to leave too. So I had to hurry up and order some pizza. But yeah, so the Airbnb was absolutely beautiful. I think it was called Casa Quinte. They have like all of these rooms. We were on the first floor, and they had like two waterfalls where you sit and eat your food inside. It was nice. So I was feeling that, and it was cheap. It was probably like $13 a night, something like that. So that was cool. They had TV, they had cable, they had a DVD room. My daughter went out there and played with the cat and watched her DVDs. But I didn't stay in that area only because I did not like the way it looked. I didn't like being near the highway because it was like a busy highway street. And then, sometimes in downtown areas you have bums and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I'm not really feeling it. But I said, before I leave, let me walk around San Antonio to get a more feel of it. And we walked around, and it was nice. Like, it was like houses down the blocks, and it was cute. It was cute. Like, I wouldn't mind staying there. The food was so cheap. Like, meals for like 5,000, 6,000 pesos, which is like $3, $2, like $2. 9,000 pesos, which is like $3 for a whole meal. And me and my daughter would split it. So that was cool. So I recognized the price difference from Medellin to Cali. I was like, okay, it's cheaper. Then I saw like all these clothing stores. They had like shirts for 10,000 pesos, which is like $3, and they were cute, like little Spanish shirts. I'm like, okay, Medellin, to me, I didn't find all of the cheap spots. Everything from what I saw was expensive. I didn't really go into the hood, the mountains, the hood that much, so I really don't know those cheap prices there. But I know Cali, it was like really cheap, like chicken for 1,000 pesos, and I was like, cool. So it was brown people, it was cheaper. I'm like, okay, I'm in the right spot. I was just nervous because it looks more hood in Cali when I first arrived. Of course, you have different boroughs of Cali. Also, if I get cut off because of the storage on my phone, I would just do a part two to it. But I did clear some of my storage up, so maybe I'll have a few minutes. So that was like my first impression on Cali, was that it was hood and it was cheap and it was brown people. The next thing was I researched the areas of Cali to make sure I was in a good area. I was in the west, the northwest. And I found out that most of Cali is not safe to touring. And this was just a blog that was on Google, so I'm just going off of the blog. But the east is totally off limits. It's very bad for people to go to, and one place in the south, but the northwest and some of the south is nice to live in. So, of course, knowing me, I hop from Airbnb to Airbnb. If I don't like it, I just get up and move. So I went to El Ingenio to walk around. And I loved El Ingenio. It was so pretty. It reminded me of Virginia Beach. Like, it was no beach, but just I don't know how to explain it. It was hot and it was bright and it was like clean. And I'm like, wow, I could do El Ingenio. It was really nice. And so, it was brown people. They didn't speak any English. Like, I kept trying to talk to people. My Spanish was so bad. So yeah. So, El Ingenio was really nice. So I went to a bakery. My daughter, with kids, they always want something. So we went to the bakery to get a cupcake, which was so expensive in El Ingenio. It was like 12,000 pesos for a cupcake. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. That's like saying $12 for a cupcake in the States. Like, who's paying $12 for a cupcake? But my daughter had already started eating it, so I paid for it. But anyway, the bakery lady, she spoke English. And I told her, like, I didn't know she spoke English, but I told her, like, these cupcakes mucho expensive. Expensive. And she was like, oh, we have cheaper cupcakes, but those are decorated, blah, blah, blah. And she started speaking English. So we had a long conversation. I was there for like an hour. And she said, El Ingenio is really nice, but all of the drug dealers did not leave El Ingenio. So you have to be careful here. And she said, your phone, any electronics, do not take it out of your bag on the streets, because the guys on the motorcycles, they will have a gun and they will rob you for your phone. And that was like the second time I heard that. So I'm like, okay. She was like, she said people have gotten robbed right here outside, because she had like tables in front of the bakery, and they were locals. They were Colombian. And she said they even got stuck up for their phone. So she was like, Jess, please don't. She was like, if you need anything, call me. You don't know any Spanish. She was worried. And it made me worry, because now I'm like, okay, I was worried in